Hey folks, Bobby here today. Hey folks, welcome to our 2.5 liter Ford engine rebuild series. And today we are going to bring the camera on down. We're actually going to put the crank in place and we're going to use some Plastigauge to check our oil clearances. And we have all our brand new bearings here. So we're going to get all this thing here laid in place and show you how we do it. So stay tuned. Okay guys, first of all, we got our brand new bearings laid out here. We actually washed them in the bar saw. We blew them off. All this stuff has been cleaned and is ready to go. It's been blown off. The block is right over here. It's been cleaned and everything's blown off, wiped off, ready to go. Okay. So now the first thing I'm gonna do is just take my veneer caliper. Now actually the best thing to use is a 0 to 1 mic with a ball tip, but I don't have one of those. So all I have is the veneer caliper. And I'm just gonna take a quick reading and I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna look at the writing right here on the bearing and see where it says standard. Okay, I want to make sure that this whole pack of bearings were all standards. Okay, because when we sent it to the machine shop, they just polished the crank. It did not need to be turned. Okay, so we just got a set of standard bearings. So bring the camera right back. I'm just going to go right here at the crown of the bearing and take a reading, and I'm about 95 thousandths of an inch. Okay, and all I really want to do is check all of them to make sure they're all right there together. Okay, and I'm also going to look to make sure I see that standard on there as well on every one of them. And there's the standard, and I'm going to go ahead and mic it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue now through all of these, just checking that. Okay, with all that checked, now it's time to go ahead and put these bearing inserts into place and put these and lay our crank in place. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to put all the bearing halves into the caps. Okay, notice that each bearing is different. One has a slot in it. Okay, and that slot has to fit, bring the camera right over here, it has to fit this oil passage in the block. Okay, if you mix these bearings up, you're not going to get oil to one of them, and guess what, your engine is going to probably blow up. Okay, so bring the camera back over here. So we're going to go in one at a time. We're going to go ahead and put our bearings into place. Now notice there is a notch here. Okay, and there's a notch on the bearing. So this is the way that you want to put the bearing in here. Make sure you get your notch there, and you just push down with your fingers, okay, until you get your bearing half into place, just like so. And then you kind of even them up, just like this right here, the best that you can. Okay, if you don't get it perfect, don't worry about it. When you clamp this sucker down and torque it, it's going to go where it needs to go. Okay, so notice that we have the one without the holes in it there. So let's go ahead and take this bearing half right here, and let's go over here to the block, and we're going to put it right here in the number one cap position. Okay, make sure everything's wiped out clean. I'm just a fanatic about that. I know I've already cleaned all this stuff, and we're going to push this bearing into place as well. Now every bearing has, reason I'm having to use a little bit of effort is because a bearing half will have a little bit of a crush to it. Okay, it's not exactly a perfect circle until it goes into place here. So now there we go. And if you notice here, we can see that hole, that oil passage through that bearing. So it's going to help lubricate this crankshaft properly. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put all of these bearings in each one of these halves, and we'll just do that on a time lapse as well. But first of all, I do want to show you how this one goes in. This is your thrust bearing. It has a thrust side on it that keeps the crank from walking back and forth. There's a specified tolerance that the crank can move back and forth, and this surface right here is what controls that. Okay, so real quickly, bring the camera back over here. We are going to install the thrust bearing, and the thrust bearing on this engine goes right here in the number 3 slot. Okay, and this is the only place that this half can go, is right here, and it's going to go just like so. And sometimes the thrust bearing can be a little tougher to get in place because it's a little stiffer. Okay, matter of fact, let me pull down on it and get the notch started right here if I can. and see if I can get this to push in place. Just like so. Okay, so there we go. Now the thrust bearing is in place, and we'll move back to a time lapse while I install all the rest of them. Okay, folks, hey, all the bearings are in place. We're going to take the crank and we're actually going to lay it into the engine dry. Okay, no oil on it right now at the moment. And I'll explain why here in just a moment. So we want to figure out what the easiest way, I'm thinking maybe just like this right here, that we are going to grab it, lay her in here, real gently, very gently. And there we go. Now we don't want to turn it while it's in there. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take each bearing cap and we're going to put them in place. But first of all, bring the camera back over here. I want to show you what we're going to lay in place. This stuff right here is called Plastigauge, okay? And what it is, I cut off 5 pieces here. And let me open one up here so we can just take a look, okay? There is a little bitty piece of wax in here, okay? And what this stuff is, it will squeeze down and spread. Now, if you look at the little piece of paper here, if you'll look, you'll see there's different widths of it being squeezed. Let me flip it over here where it's thousandths of an inch, okay? So if it's this thick here, it's 3/1000ths of an inch. If it's a little bit thicker, squeeze a little bit more, it's 2/1000ths of an inch. If it's this width here, between this mark and this mark, you're looking at 1.5 thousandths. And right here, you're looking at 1/1000th of an inch, okay? So that's what we're actually putting this in for. Now bring the camera right over here. And I am going to lay that piece of wax right there on top of that journal, just like so, okay? And you want to lay it going this way, the best way that you can. And now, just keep the camera right there. And we're going to take number 1 rod cap, I'm sorry, main cap. And this is number 1. And this arrow is already embossed into this cap. And we're going to sit this down in place. And then we're going to take 2 of our main cap bolts. And we're going to turn them down by hand, okay? We're not going to use any impacts, cordless, nothing, no hammers, no nothing. You don't do anything with this. We just want to get all these put in place, okay? And then I'm going to torque them down, and then we'll back them off, and I'll show you the results here in just a moment. Let's go to a time lapse now, and while I put the rest of these in place. Okay, hey guys, we got our torque wrench here. We got it set for the specified spec. We're going to go and tighten all our main caps down. I think we'll start right here in the center on this thrust bearing. And we're just going to go ahead and tighten all these down. And let's see, let's just kind of run them all up first and not even worry about, let me get them where I kind of get to where they feel like they're getting somewhat close. And then we'll go and torque them. This will only take a minute. Okay, now that we got them all kind of snugged down, I'm going to go ahead and torque them. We'll start in the center. And that's, and you can hear the click type torque wrench. Click, so we're good there. Check it again. We'll go to number 4. And we'll go to number 2. And then we'll go down here to the rear one. And then let's go up here to number 1. Okay. All right, now we'll go ahead and back all these out. Let me get my breaker bar. We'll go ahead and loosen them. and back them all out and take a look at that Plastigauge. Okay, we've already removed one of our main caps here on number 1, and as you can see, the Plastigauge has squeezed out. Okay, so we'll take a piece of our gauge paper here and put it up on here and just see about what the what it has squeezed to. So we can tell right there it's definitely more than 1/1000th of an inch. Right here is the measurement of 1.5 thousandths. It looks the closest to that, because this one here, it's actually squeezed out a little bit more than 2/1000th of an inch. And actually the spec on this engine is anywhere from 8/10,000ths of an inch up to 1.5 thousandths. So that is actually right where it needs to be. And it can be as much as 2.5 thousandths of an inch, okay? So we're looking pretty good right there where we're at. Let me go ahead and pop another cap or two. Matter of fact, we'll just pop all of them right quick. And I'm going to pull the bolt out of each side of these. And I'll show you guys a little trick here. You can take a rubber hammer, but sometimes these things don't want to wiggle off quite so easy. But I will show you a little trick here. Hold your bolt up high enough to where it's not into the threads of the block. And you can take a rubber hammer, give it just a little bit of a tap. And voila, there you go. There's your cap. And we can look at that one. You can see the thickness of that one right there. We'll move this cap over here. Let's go ahead and remove the rest of them here so we can take a look at all of them. And we'll go ahead and put the gauge on there as well so we can take a look at them. One more right here. Let's take off number 4. Take a quick look. And let's go ahead and take off the final one here at the back as well. Okay, there we go. Now, let's take our gauge here that I have. I can already see that they're all looking pretty good. This one here looks like it might be a little bit between 1.5 thousandths and the 2/1000ths mark. It might be like 0.0018, okay? But it's not very much. And this one here looks to be pretty good too. It's definitely right in the, I can't really get it down there on it, but I can tell by looking at it that we're between a 1.5 thousandths and 2. Same thing right here. Same thing right back here as well. So I am very happy with where the oil clearances on the main bearings are. Now, what I will do on this right here, this little bit of Plastigauge, I've heard that some people say that they will just leave it in the engine and oil it up and keep going. I don't do that. I will take a rag with a little bit of brake cleaner on there, and I'll wipe the Plastigauge off of there. It comes off pretty easy anyway. And the reason that I laid the crank in there dry is because we are taking a oil clearance reading, okay? And if you oil up the crank and you put it all together, you're going to get an inaccurate reading on your oil clearance, and your Plastigauge is probably not going to stay in place very well because it's going to be sliding around the oil, okay? So there we go, guys. That's how I install bearings and lay our crank in and check for clearance on the crank. So from this point, we will end this video, and we'll definitely be making some more videos in this series. I hope you found this helpful today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check that description down below. Might be some links to some cool products. Have a great day.